Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are watching episodes 278 and 279 of Bleach. So in the last video we finished up, for now, the fight between Soifang and Baragan, which I looked up because I had to when I was editing and uploading the last video, and we saw that Soifang was using her Bankai. We got to see kind of this rocket launcher thing that she has going on, which is pretty cool, but I'm not sure if it was actually effective against Baragan because we didn't actually see any kind of impact from that attack, nor any like fallout to whether or not he was actually injured or not. So I think still kind of on the fence about whether or not anything actually happened with that. We of course also got a clip of Haribel as well, as she's like encased in this ice pillar thing, so I feel like maybe we will come back to those Espada in a little while, whether or not we are fighting them again during this part of the arc or if they just maybe will come back at some point. But more importantly, we got to see Stark's release form as his fight with Shinsui starts to pick up a little bit more. We got to see Shinsui like really get invested in the fight, losing his kimono and the hat and really getting into seriously fighting, which is something that I have yet to see up to this point. So excited to see where that fight goes, especially since we found out that the little kind of Arrancar that was with him, that they are actually two parts of a whole, so they come back together with the release form. She's just kind of a manifestation of the power of that he has as an Espada, so really fitting with his kind of aspect of death that he represents. So I really liked getting to see some of that. I don't know if we'll get any proper backstory on Stark, but he seems like a very interesting Espada, especially since a lot of them seem to be very like lone wolf energy, and I feel like Stark fits into a different place because he doesn't actually, I think, properly want to be alone, so I feel like he's a bit of a different attitude to him than some of the other ones. So I feel like getting some kind of backstory or getting to see more of his personality would be an intriguing way of kind of showing his distinctness from the other Espada, but it does look like we are going to get into his fight a little bit more, especially since we had Ukitake jumping into the fight and possibly using a Seto, which I try not to think too deeply about, but it does worry me because the only time we see Seto is with people who have some kind of hollow trait introduced, so I'm a little bit worried about where that's going to take us, but we are gearing up into some of the more intense fights. This part of the arc is actually really long. I keep forgetting that there's like more than like 12-ish episodes for this part of the arc, so there's still a lot that we have to wrap up, and we keep getting little snippets of Gin, Tosen, and Aizen, so I feel like we are going to have them be reintroduced to the conflict soon, but let's just get into episode 278. In 3, 2, 1, go. Excuse me? What is that? With Wonder Wise. What was that? I take it back when I was like, hey, the little like preview thing, that's so nice compared to like the generic recap that we got for a little while. I take it back. It's given me like heart attacks before we even get into the episode, like it did with Toshiro. And now I'm just like a little on edge. I forgot that we saw a little bit of Wonder Waste coming into the show again. I was wondering what happened to them, where they were at, because they didn't seem to be in Las Noches. They didn't seem to be with Aizen, so I was like, "Where's Wonder Waste?" do feel like I might need Totoro for this, though. It's already stressing me out. Yes. For some reason, he has serious cowboy vibes. I think it's the pistols. I think it's the dual pistols, because, like, the rest of his outfit, not so much in the cowboy department, but I'm so sad about his hat. He just sacrificed it. I like that he's really good sense of like where his opponent is. Like Stark, like he doesn't necessarily look in the direction. He just sort of knows where they are. Even though pistols are kind of they seem like the kind of weapon that would be best for like close combat, but he's like very aware of his environment. I love that. Isn't that cheating? Because that's what I say about stuff when people have like crazy powers. Are we seeing Halibel again? Everybody's a little worn out. I don't think he's done. Just saying. I wonder if Ukitake's power has something to do with using his opponent's power against them. And that's how come the Sero. Kind of like what Nell did when she like absorbed the power and then used it against the opponent again. Because Setos kind of have different colors depending on who the person is, and Stark's is blue, and the one that he uses is also blue. So I wonder if it's because of that. True, there are technically both of them fighting now. Loophole in the uh I would also like to know. It's a bit of a playful response, too. It's definitely a trap. Like, he's goading him on, but why not play the game, right? Is he gonna use like different like power level to kind of see if it's how the it works? Because it's like his pistols have different outputs in terms of power. That's what I said. Hmm. So it's not just absorbing, it's also manipulating it. They're tag teaming now, though. I don't know. I think they are alike, but I also think Shinsui is a very like strategic minded person, and he's probably reading his opponent and playing off of the expectation. Especially since Stark has proven that he can kind of track his movements. So if he's a little bit unpredictable and uncharacteristic, then he'll have a better chance, right? Teamwork. I mean, they probably have fought a lot with like alongside each other if they trained with Yamamoto like together. I don't know how much their timelines like match in terms of when they were training, but they probably know each other's abilities really well. Someone else coming to join in everything that's going on? I'm assuming this is Wonder Ways and possibly something else. I mean, there's a little bit of ambiguity about where Wonder Ways falls in the hierarchy. Because I think we were talking like Wonder Ways strong enough to be an Espada, but they're not actually one of the number. They don't have a number, so we haven't seen them in a really long time, now I think about it. I would like to know who the other guest is, though. The one that needs to have such a big uh, portal to get through. Those are Menos masks. Which is worrying. That's a big fella. I have no idea what it is, though. I'm assuming some kind of higher level hollow. Because it looks like it's a collection of them. And hollows, like, get stronger when they eat other hollows. That's the eye, is it? From all the way back then. Look at Bleach setting up stuff early in advance. Like it usually does, but that was a long time ago. I totally forgot that there was like a mystery eye in that clip. Because that was such a long time ago that that scene happened. Ugh. Oh, I like him. He's one of my favorites. And he's sickly. Ooh, Shinsui looks not pleased, but also very distressed. Uh-oh. I do not like that. Are we calling? No, we're breaking the ice. I don't like the screeching though. Or the intense, like, organ music that's playing. I knew that they were gonna come back though. Oh no! Oh dang. He's finally deciding to join in. My heart is like going crazy. The real fight though. Shinji! Oh, I'm so excited to see Visored. I've been wondering where they've been. Oh my gosh, the meeting though. How long's it been since Aizen saw Shinji? Oh, I'm so excited to see them again. I wonder where Ukitake is at. I mean, Urahara is at. Like, if him and Yoroichi came with Visored, or if they're still working on something else. I loved this flashback arc, but it got me in my heart a lot. Even though I knew that this was going to be the outcome. I always forget how much younger Gin is. From like Aizen and Tosen and like a lot of the other like captains and lieutenants and stuff. I mean, obviously he's not as young as um like Renji and Kira and stuff, but I always forget that he's like younger. Like he's the same age as Byakuya? Similar age? I hope Shinji beats up Aizen a little bit. At least a little bit. Oh no! His stylish hat! Oh, the music switch though. I wonder how much of like the other like Soul Reapers knew about Visored still being around. I mean, like, I know that they knew that they were around to some extent because they're working with Soul Society, at least at this moment. But I wonder, like, they probably haven't seen each other in a really long time. Oh, I'm very excited that they're finally back. I was wondering when they were going to show up. I'm still distressed about Ukitake and Shinsui, though. But, like, everyone's starting to come together. We'll see if we see Yoruichi or Urahara anytime soon. If the captains that are still in Las Noches are gonna figure out a way. I'm assuming Urahara is working on that. So I assume that the other captains will show up at some point. I don't know if they'll show up for this fight though. I'm trying to remember how many more episodes are left in this arc. Like this part of the arc before it starts into the next one. I assume Aizen will continue to be the big bad for a while. This is the outfits from the Ender. Ooh. I'm so excited that we're getting to see Visored again, that they're finally joining into the fight. I did look up how many episodes there were left in this arc. It's like 310, I think, and then there might be like some filler stuff because I think the arc like officially ends at like 316 or something, but anyway, so there's like a lot of episodes left in this part of the arc, so I'm excited that we are in the kind of Visored joining the fight. We of course have Wonder Weiss and this like hollow of some kind. It looks like it's made out of Menos, so I wonder exactly where it falls in the power spectrum, because I feel like if I can remember the like hierarchy of hollow. I can only remember Vestalorde, and I don't know if it's that. I feel like in my brain I'm thinking like the more human they look, the more powerful they are. And this one definitely doesn't look very human, but it does look like it is made up of Menos, so I'm not exactly sure exactly what it is. I mean, also it's something that Aizen is bringing into the fight, so as far as I know, Aizen did some weird experimentation and this is what happened, so it could be something completely new and other. But lots of people joining in on this part of the conflict. I am very concerned about Ukitake and Shinsui and how they are doing, but I'm more concerned about what's going to happen now that it looks like Aizen is done waiting around in this fight and kind of letting the Espada do their own thing. He is stepping into the actual conflict now, and of course we have Shinji coming out, which honestly I do really want to see Shinji fight Aizen. I know I was talking earlier about wanting to see Yamamoto fight him, and I do want to see Yamamoto fight him, but there's just something satisfying about the like emotional side of like why Shinji wants to fight Aizen. Like I feel like there's such a like vengeance thing to that of you know, Aizen of course turning him into like a hollow, but also like like we saw in the little recap that they gave of him like kind of choosing Shinji, and because of that a lot of other people who were captains and lieutenants got pulled into the conflict, people that Shinji has since become very close with. I don't think he was like super super close with them prior to them being Visored, but he's obviously spent a bunch of time with them now. So I like the emotional side of the personal side of Shinji fighting against Aizen as opposed to Yamamoto, which would just be like two really powerful people fighting each other, which I think would also be really cool, but it doesn't have like the same emotional draw to it. And some of my favorite fight moments in Bleach are the ones that have a lot of like character resonance with them. So I was honestly just thinking, we've been through so many fights recently. It's just been like fights back to back to back. And I'm like, it's been a while since we've had something like character driven in the fights. Like I feel like the last time it really happened would have been with the lieutenants, where we had like Kira getting involved and kind of Kira and Hizagi, and like them kind of having more character driven conflicts involved with why they were fighting. And then we were kind of doing fights with the captains where they were really just sort of, you know, powerful people fighting powerful people with the captains against the Espada. And to have Shinji and Visored show up where they have like a very personal reason for wanting to get vengeance against Aizen and Tosen and Gin. So I feel like we're going to be bringing in those more character-driven fights again and having that be a little bit more grounded in why the conflict is happening the way that it is. So I'm very excited to be getting into some of that, kind of getting into the real fight. I feel now that we have all of the three Espada showing up, Wonder Weiss, Aizen, Gin, Tosen. So it looks like everyone is going to be starting kind of a new round of this conflict. So let's just get into episode 279. In 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, it's a big fella that came with Wonder Weiss. Yep. Remember them? Oh, look at that grin on Shinji's face, though. I'm actually like so excited to see Visored show up against Aizen and like Tosen, considering how that all went last time. Some of them were Tosen's like superiors before, right? Like the guy with the white hair. I can't remember his name. But he has a really cool power. Wasn't he Tosen's captain originally? Which is interesting if then Hizagi became Tosen's lieutenant after that, because the connection. I'm so excited. Hang on, hang on. I'm like giddy with this face off. Yes, look at the timing. I guess Toshiro wouldn't know what he Toshiro wasn't there. Yep. So it looks like at least Soifeng didn't know that they were still around after the holification incident. Are we getting a little bit about what happened after the incident? I was kind of wondering, like, how they recovered from that. Like, a lot of really high-ranking people, like captains and lieutenants, suddenly leaving all at once because of the holification. So it makes you wonder kind of what happened with Soul Society, of them kind of having to rearrange ranks and stuff to like have people replace them. Or Shinji. Mm-hmm. Finally seeing Urahara again. I mean, we've already seen this and it's a flashback, but it has been a while since we saw him. Mm-hmm. Yes, Urahara has some knowledge of this, which is also a little bit suspicious. Where he would have learned something about holification. He's definitely Aizen's definitely not just a lieutenant. Even at this point, I think Aizen was exactly where he wanted to be at that point in time, which happened to be a lieutenant. I think specifically he wanted to be Shinji's lieutenant. It's been so long since we saw Yoroichi as well. I love the brass in this music, by the way. I love jazz music in general, so anything that has jazzy feel to it, I appreciate. Took you long enough to show up, though. I kid. I'm just happy they're here. Finally. Even though it might be a little bit awkward with meeting up with Soul Society and arguing as always. He's going through some stuff. I'm sure he'll show up eventually. Yeah. Is Lisa going to Shinsui, her old captain? I was wondering what them seeing each other again would entail. Oof. Somehow fitting. Oof. Aw. Lisa-chan. Cute. I was wondering where he was. So that's why it took them so long to show up. See, I was wondering where his lieutenant. I don't know if lieutenant fits his ranking very well. It feels like a too low of a ranking, but I was wondering where he was. Cause I noticed he was gone, but he wasn't like in the fight anywhere. Don't fight amongst yourselves. Aw, that's kind of cute too. Where it's like they're not allies of Soul Society, but they're allies with Ichigo. Gene. I also dislike it. Uh, I feel a lot of things about that. Just like throwing up a bunch of hollow. I think I was saying Meadows before too, and they said Gillian. I can never get the ranking straight. I know somebody explained it to me somewhere in the comments, and I didn't internalize it enough. Remember when they used to be intimidating though? The Gillians, and now they're like dragon fodder. Like this is really just an opportunity for Visor to show off how cool they are. Oh, I like the snaps. I can't snap very well. Ooh, look at the mask too. There's like a bunch of color to it, which isn't usually what their masks are like. They're usually pretty, black and white. I like his mask too. It reminds me of what are those like doctors? Like Victorian or like plague doctors or something? Where they have the like bird masks. That's what it reminds me of. Also like strings, like the piano. That's pretty cool. The piano thing really fits with his kind of aesthetic and character. Oh wow. That's one way to get rid of them. It's a long story, Toshiro. Oh, I'm very excited for this fight. I don't feel like we're really gonna get into it in this episode, but Tosen. I mean, I understand why he got involved, but yeah, a, a whole other grudge match. He has his own reasons for fighting against Tosen. See, okay, they are Menos. They're Menos Grande, they're also like Gillian. It's all mixed up in my head. Lisa. Ooh, and Hiyori. That's an interesting dynamic. Those two with Toshiro. Ooh, his powers I feel would measure up really well against Baragan. Because he uses a lot of Kido, which is like not a weapon-based thing, so he doesn't have to get close to him to be able to use his power as well. Ugh, I'm so giddy with all the like matchups that are happening. I wonder which fights we're gonna focus on first. The one with Wonderways? The monologuing. That's an interesting matchup too. These two are gonna be really chaotic to fight against each other. Ugh. Ugh, I love when they use reflections like that. Like either in people's eyes or on their sampak toes and stuff. I don't know, it's just aesthetically pleasing. Hisagi also getting into the fight. He's got some he's got lots of reasons to be fighting against Tosen as well. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh yes, new ender. This looks a little desolate. I hope Ishida's doing okay. Between his arm getting injured and then being stabbed, I worry for him. I'm so excited for all of these matchups though. Because it's like the really important like character driven fights where they're just like the people that need to face off against each other for the, you know, character arc. What am I looking at? Intentionally. He is evil. The real reason for fighting. There are so many really great matchups that are coming into this where we are getting into a lot of that like personal side to why people are in these conflicts, and I've talked about it probably every time that there's like a major conflict going on in Bleach, that I love the mixture of both like the fun kind of fight scene kind of things, but also mixing in that like personal side of like character growth happening alongside those fights. And I really love that we are finally getting back into doing some of that. I feel like we left it for a little while, but getting into some of the important character conflicts of like not only like being in a physical confrontation, but there's also like ideological and personal reasons for certain characters to be fighting each other. And there's also just some interesting matchups that are happening with certain characters or abilities going up against each other. It's like I said with the pink-haired Visored guy, which I feel bad about because I always say pink-haired as bottom. We're talking about a different character here. But him going up against Baragan is like a really interesting matchup because you can't really use a Zanpakuto, like a physical weapon, against him very well, but you can use something like Kido really well against him, which is something that I think Omaida tried, but he isn't very good at it. Like that was his thing where he's like, oh, I could use Kido, but he's like, I don't really have any knowledge of that. So having someone who is a master of Kido or has been trained very well in Kido going up against him is a way of getting around the fact that anything that's in close proximity is going to like dissolve into dust because of the way he manipulates time. So that's a really cool fight matchup to have. I also think Wonder Wise against the green-haired Visored girl would also be like chaotic, which we'll see how that goes because they're two, I don't know, like Wonder Wise doesn't have like a lot of personality in that they don't say like pretty much anything, they just kind of make noises. But I feel like the little bit that we've seen of Wonder Wise's fighting style with that particular Visored, I feel like that'll be an interesting matchup between those two. And then of course we have like the grudge matches that are a little bit more intense, having obviously the captain and Hisagi going up against Tosen. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Editing me, put the name of the captain so that you might remember it later. I always try to remember it when I see it in the subtitles or I hear them say it, and then it just slips my brain and I feel bad about it. But having them go up against Tosen, obviously they both have their own reasons for wanting to fight him, so I really like seeing that we are going to be getting into that. Also, I just like Hisagi's fighting style and his Zanpakuto, so I'm excited just to like get to see him fight again. And then we have Shinji, who is probably going to go off to fight with Aizen again at some point. I don't know what's going on with Gin because he hasn't joined in any particular way. I feel like I mean Kira would be one of them, but he's still healing people. And then Matsumoto, obviously. I feel like those two are the ones that kind of need to have maybe a face-to-face with, I mean, Matsumoto definitely needs to have a face-to-face with Gin. I don't know if Kira really needs that or not. I feel like Kira has kind of moved on a little bit from it when we got his little speech about like him siding more with like the squad itself and like what the squad as a whole represents, which is like a separate thing from like the specific captain. I don't know if they would be powerful enough though to fight Gin. So, and I don't feel like Gin would want to fight Matsumoto, but I don't really know that much about Gin yet. When I get some kind of backstory, like proper backstory on Gin, I feel like I'll be able to make more of an observation about him. Lots of other matchups happening too. We have, of course, Toshiro going up against Halibel again, but with some help from Hiyori and Lisa, which is those are some interesting personality dynamics to have to be there together. Like, I feel like Toshiro and Lisa have kind of a similar vibe in that they're kind of a no nonsense, straight down to business kind of fighters. And then you have like Hiyori, who's like far more emotion driven. I mean, Toshiro's emotion driven too, but I feel like he tries to control it, even though he is a very like emotional person. Like, I feel like Toshiro is a lot more emotional inside than he like lets out into the exterior world. Like, I feel like he tries to suppress a lot of that and control it so that he can like, be a captain and have that authority and be the kind of prodigy fighter that he has become. I feel like he has a lot of like responsibility for someone who's very young. Like, he doesn't even know of the whole Visored thing that happened, which was 100 years ago, which is like not that long in like Soul Reaper years. He's very young, and to have that responsibility, I feel like he wants to hold that position well. So I feel like he kind of suppresses a lot of those kind of overactive emotions in a way that Hiyori does not. She kind of like lets her emotions pull her whichever way that they want to. So I think that that will be, I don't know, just like an intriguing mixture of characters that like I wouldn't have thought to mix together, but I think it'll be a cool matchup, especially against Halibel, who's of course about sacrifice. And I feel like those, I mean, Visored in general understands sacrifice in a very like personal way. Very, very excited to get into these next episodes. I feel like we're gonna put a pin in Aizen again while we deal with some of the others, because Aizen really is the final boss. So I feel like we're gonna have to deal with everybody else, and then maybe we'll get back to Shinji and Aizen, or we'll see like little interactions with them. We're gonna get so much good stuff, like character stuff, combat stuff. I'm very giddy about it. You can click this playlist if you want to see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you don't miss the next time I post a Bleach video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!